Good evening. We are meeting after a long time. So today we will go ahead for first 5-10 minutes with revision. I hope I'm audible. Avirat, let me know. It's audible properly and this presentation is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I hope it is audible and presentation is visible to everybody. It's presentation. This is 47th lecture, and today we will be covering few constellations, some basic things. So this is some acknowledgement that this lecture is from data from the internet. This is what we are looking for in night sky. Some nakshatras, constellations, sun signs, planets, notable stars, meteor shower, some messier objects, inclusive of galaxies, dwarf galaxies, nebula, and some eclipse. This month there is, but it will not be visible from our place, India. So we'll not get into that. We will be talking about ऑफ्यूकस भुजंगधारी, हिंदी में सर्पधर बोलते हैं, सर्पेंस मतलब भुजंग या सर्प कॉन्स्टिलेशन। ये दो कॉन्स्टिलेशन देखेंगे, बट ये पहली बार होगा कि दो कॉन्स्टिलेशन है बट रिप्रेजेंटेशन तीन कॉन्स्टिलेशन की तरह है। तो ये दो इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्स्टिलेशन देखने का काम आज हम करेंगे। इसके अंदर जो मेसियर ऑब्जेक्ट्स है या डीप स्काई ऑब्जेक्ट्स है, स्टार्स है, कुछ स्पेशल केसेस है, उनको भी हम स्टडी करेंगे। और फिर थोड़ा फ्री टाइम मिला तो विल टॉक अबाउट अदर थिंग्स, और वी विल टॉक अबाउट सम इम्पोर्टेंट ऑब्जर्वेशनल पार्ट in first half of the session, and then we'll go to these two constellation and then remaining. This is what we have covered. I hope you are going through our previous lectures. Approximately 46 lectures you are having in your, तो ये जो 46 लेक्चर्स आपको रिवाइज करते रहने हैं, आपको अपने प्रेजेंटेशन बनाने हैं, आपको अपना कुछ क्वेश्चन बैंक बनाना है तो बना सकते हैं आप। तो ये सब आप कर रहे होंगे ऐसी उम्मीद है। आप यहाँ पे देख सकते हो कि ये नाइट व्यू वाला स्काई मैप है। तो इसमें आपको बहुत सारी वो कॉन्स्टिलेशन दिखाई जो हमने पिछले 46 कॉन्स्टिलेशन में कवर की। उसके आगे भी जाके कुछ कवर किया है बट आज उसमें नहीं जाएंगे। दिस इज स्काई मैप कि आज रात को सुबह 3:33 पे किस तरीके का स्काई होगा। तो भाई मून है, इंटरेस, ये सब रहेंगे। ये आपको सदर्न साइड का थोड़ा व्यू दिखाया गया है, सदर्न ईस्ट व्यू भी है। तो ये सिर्फ इसलिए दिखाया है कि इसके रेफरेंस में आपको कुछ आज दिखाना। सो वी गो इमीडिएटली। 1 घंटे पहले मेरे जहाँ मैं रहता हूँ वहाँ पे मतलब 20 आवर्स, 8 बजे 8 PM रात को, आज को मतलब 20 तारीख को, 20 अप्रैल 2022 को स्काई कंडीशन मुंबई सबर्ब्स में कैसी थी। मतलब स्काई कंडीशंस नहीं बोल सकते, स्टार चार्ट के हिसाब से स्काई में क्या क्या प्रेजेंट। आप यहाँ दे सकते हो टॉरस कॉन्स्टिलेशन है, ओरायन है, ऊपर अर्सा कैनिस मेजर है, फिर नीचे की तरह लिपिस है, कैनोपस आता है, वो पुपीस है, करीना कॉन्स्टिलेशन है, सॉरी, उसमें पुपीड्स मतलब मिटियोर शावर हो रहा है। फिर वर्गो कॉन्स्टिलेशन में से भी एक मिटियोर शावर है। फिर बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्स्टिलेशन रात को 8-9 बजे के आसपास इस महीने में प्रेजेंट रहती है। आप एक बेल्ट भी देखोगे जो यहाँ पे रिप्रेजेंट करता है। आप थोड़ा देखोगे ब्राइटर जोन ऑफ द स्काई, ये बेसिकली रिप्रेजेंट करता है अपनी मिल्की वे गैलेक्सी के आर्म को। तो यहाँ पे बहुत कुछ देखने लायक है। स्काई ऑब्जर्वेशन आप आ नहीं रहे हो कुछ लोग या कर नहीं रहे हो तो वो आपका मतलब प्रॉब्लम है, क्योंकि आपको ये करना चाहिए रेगुलर बेसिस। ये जो हमने रात का आसमान देखा, इसी तरीके से अभी मैं आपको 23 तारीख का रात का 1 बजे का, मतलब 23 की रात नहीं है एक्चुअली, 23 की सुबह है, मॉर्निंग 1 AM और 1:15 AM पे 1.13 आवर्स पे क्या स्काई कंडीशन होगी। तो उसमें एक जरूरी चीज आपको दिखानी थी, लाइरिट्स मीटियोर शॉट। लाइरिट्स मीटियोर शॉवर 23 सुबह मतलब जब ये दिखा रहा हूं ना मैं, ये आपका पीक पीरियड, इस पीक पीरियड में आप देखेंगे तो ज्यादा से ज्यादा दिखने के चांसेस है। चाहिए तो हम 22 की रात को स्काई ऑब्जर्वेशन रख सकते हैं, शाम को ये सारी चीजें देखी जा सकती है नेकेड आई स्काई ऑब्जर्वेशन के तौर पे, अगर स्काई ठीक है तो। आजकल क्लाउडी है कि स्काई कंडीशंस हमारे यहाँ। दूसरा, रात को तकरीबन 2 बजे के आसपास स्काई चार्ट डाले हैं कि अप्रैल के एंड में, मई के मिड में, या फिर मई के एंड में किस तरीके के स्काई कंडीशंस होंगी। बट जिस चीज के लिए 23 तारीख को फिर से वापस आपके मैप में मैं दिखा रहा हूँ, वो ये है कि 23 तारीख को मतलब 22 की रात को चलते चलते 1 बजे लाइरिड्स मीटियोर शावर देखने के बाद 23 की सुबह 5:30 बजे आसमान का ईस्ट डायरेक्शन का नजारा कुछ ऐसे होगा। ये ईस्ट है, देख रहे हैं आप ऊपर की तरफ, और उसके तकरीबन 5:30 बजे आसमान में एक आधा पौना घंटा पहले जुपिटर आ चुका है, उसके पहले 15-20 मिनट पहले, आधा घंटा पहले वीनस आ चुका है, उसके बहुत पहले मार्स आ चुका है, उसके बहुत पहले सैटर्न आ चुका है, उसके बहुत पहले मून आ चुका है। तो मून सबको तकलीफ देगा, पर टेलीस्कोपिक ऑब्जर्वेशन हम इनका कर पाएंगे, क्लाउड्स ये सारी चीजों को इंटरफेयर नहीं करेंगे। तो होपफुली बाय 22 की रात इज द राइट टाइम टू हैव स्काई ऑब्जर्वेशन, टेलीस्कोपिक ऑब्जर्वेशन। 23 की सुबह होगा या फिर 30 की सुबह हो सकता है, बट कभी मून देखने नहीं मिलेगा, क्योंकि 30 की सुबह अमावस्या शुरू होती है, तो मून विल नॉट बी अवेलेबल। तो आप इन चीजों के बारे में सोचिए। अभी उस रात को आपको जुपिटर या वीनस कौन सी अवस्था में दिखेंगे उसके भी फोटो मैंने यहाँ लगाए हैं। तो यहाँ पे आपको ये मार्स की फेस दिख रही है गिब्बस, फिर बाजू में वीनस दिख रहा है, आई होप आप पढ़ पा रहे हो। मार्स लिखा है, देखा ना इस पे, इतना बड़ा तो नहीं दिखेगा ये मार्स, आपको एक ऑरेंज पैटर्न दिखेगा, उसकी फेस दिखना थोड़ा मुश्किल है, मेरा टेलीस्कोप छोटा है। इसमें वीनस की थोड़ी फेस पैटर्न आपको समझ में आ जाएगा, क्योंकि वीनस थोड़ा करीब है। तो इस तरीके का फेस पैटर्न होगा वीनस का, और ये मून का फेस पैटर्न होगा। ओके, 23 की सुबह की बात हो रही है। अगर हम बात करें जुपिटर कैसे दिखेगा, तो इस तरीके से दिखेगा। नीचे कैलिस्टो है, ऊपर उसके गनीमेड है, फिर आयो है, फिर जुपिटर खुद है, और ऊपर की तरफ यूरोपा है। इस तरीके से लाइन में उसके 4 प्रोमिनेंट मून्स आपको रात को दिखेंगे। अपना रिफ्लेक्टर है तो उल्टा दिखेगा, एग्जैक्ट रिफ्लेक्टर टेलीस्कोप होने के कारण। सैटर्न भी बहुत अच्छी कंडीशन में दिखेगा, अगर उसको ऑब्सक्योर नहीं करेंगे इस क्लाउड्स को, तो ये सैटर्न का दिखने का कंडीशन है। नॉर्मली उसके आसपास के जो उसके नेचुरल सैटेलाइट्स है वो दिखते तो नहीं है, बट हो कुछ तो दिखेगा। उसकी जरूरत भी नहीं है, सैटर्न की रिंग देखने के लिए आप किधर से भी टेलीस्कोप जिनके पास है उनके यहाँ आ सकते हो। तो ये हो गई 23 की रात की सुबह की पॉसिबिलिटी। विल एरिड्स मीटियोर शावर ये यूजुअली एक्टिव होता है 16 अप्रैल से लेके 25 ऑफ द अप्रैल। तो आप समझ सकते हो ऑलमोस्ट वो 30 तक भी जाता है, बट पीक जो है वो 22 की रात को या सुबह वो बोल सकते हो, बट 23 की सुबह मतलब 22 की रात को होता ही है। आप देखा होगा थोड़ी देर पहले, पीछे चलते चाहिए तो वापस, लाइरिट्स कितने बजे राइज हो रहा है, ये लाइरिट्स ही है ना। हाँ, आप देख सकते हो ये स्काई मैप 1 बजे का है, तो लाइरिट्स मस्ट बी राइजिंग अराउंड 11:30, 11। ओके, तो वो थोड़ा जेनिथ की तरफ आएगा, सेंटर ऑफ द स्काई सर के ऊपर आपके आएगा, तो थोड़ा विजिबिलिटी ज्यादा अच्छा होता है। इसलिए मैंने यहाँ 1:15 बजे का टाइम दिया है, और 3 बजे वगैरह अच्छे से दिखेगा, पर 3 बजे आजकल थोड़ा क्लाउडी वेदर बढ़ रहा। सो होपफुली वो अगर ठीक से हो पाएगा तो हम देख पाएंगे लाइरिट्स भी, जिसके बारे में यहाँ लिखा है कि इट्स नेम्ड आफ्टर द कॉन्स्टिलेशन लायरा, क्योंकि लायरा बैकग्राउंड में है। ओके, स्वरमंडल हिंदी में बोला जाता है उस कॉन्स्टिलेशन को। ओल्डेस्ट रिकॉर्डेड मीटियोर शॉवर है, और सम हिस्टोरिकल चाइनीज टेक्स्ट के हिसाब से तो 2500 साल पुराना है। जिसके द फायरबॉल्स इन द मीटियोर शॉवर आर क्रिएटेड बाय द डेब्रिस फ्रॉम द कॉमेट हैचर, तो जो 415 साल लेता है ऑर्बिट करने के लिए। आप सबको पता होगा हेलेज कॉमेट 76 ईयर्स लेता है। तो इस तरीके से ये कॉमेट्स जो है ग्रेविटेशनल इन्फ्लुएंस से सूरज की परिक्रमा करने आते हैं, फिर घूम के वापस जाते हैं और एक स्पेसिफिक पीरियड में वापस आते हैं। इसकी डिस्कवरी हेलेज नाम के साइंटिस्ट ने शुरू की, तो हेलेज कॉमेट आइडेंटिफाई हुआ और उसके बाद बहुत सारे कॉमेट्स की बाद में पीरियोडिसिटी या पीरियड पीरियड जो है उनका वो ढूंढा गया। तो उनमें से ये जो कॉमेट थैचर है इसका 415 साल का पीरियड है। कॉमेट इज एक्सपेक्टेड टू बी विजिबल फ्रॉम द अर्थ अगेन इन 2276, और जैसे ही यह आएगा करीब सूरज का चक्कर लगा के जाएगा, तो फिर आने वाले भविष्य के आपके मिट्योर शॉवर के इंटेंसिटी, उसका क्या बोलेंगे, क्वांटिटी, मतलब मीटियोर्स पर आवर बढ़ेंगे। अभी भी 20 तक की बात करते हैं लोग, 20 मीटियोर्स पर आवर, बट कभी कभी 100 भी होते हैं, ऐसा भी बोला जाता है। तो कॉमेट इज एक्सपेक्टेड टू बी विजिबल फ्रॉम अर्थ अगेन इन 20, मतलब 2276। आप तो होंगे शायद, हम लोग का होने का चांसेस थोड़ा कम है। तो आज हम बात करेंगे भुजंगधारी कॉन्स्टिलेशन के बारे में। ये यहाँ है आसमान में, इस तरीके से दिखता है। इस तरीके से ज्यादा नहीं दिखता है कितना भी बोलूँ तो भाई आपको ऐसे इमेजिन करना पड़ेगा कि ये ऐसे दिखता है। अभी हम थोड़ा इसके बारे में जानेंगे। तो जानने के लिए आपको पहले कुछ चित्र दिखा देता हूँ कि ये जो भुजंगधारी है ये एक्चुअली एंशियंट इमेजिनेशन ऐसा है कि एक सांप को पकड़ के रखा आदमी खड़ा है, या व्यक्ति खड़ा है, या एंजल खड़ा है, जो भी आप बोलो, और उसने जिस सांप को पकड़ा है वो उसके पीछे से जा रहा है। तो एक आगे वाला मतलब हेड वाला पोर्शन और एक टेल वाला पोर्शन, तो इससे सरपेंस कॉन्स्टिलेशन बना। और जिसने सांप को पकड़ा है उसका ऑब्लिक्वियस मतलब भुजंगधारी, सर्पधारी, सर्पधर कॉन्स्टिलेशन बना। इस तरीके के वाइल्ड इमेजिनेशन ये केपलर, जोहान्स केपलर ने बनाई हुई इमेज है जो आपके सामने अभी दिखा रहा हूं मैं। ये उसने अपने जो स्काई मैप बनाए उसमें आप नीचे देख भी सकते हो। भुजंगधारी को एडजेसेंट जो है वो स्कॉर्पियन है, तो नीचे स्कॉर्पियो का बॉडी दिख रहा है आपको। यहाँ हरक्यूलस उसके साथ है, तो ऊपर की तरफ हरक्यूलस है, नीचे की तरफ भुजंगधारी दिखाया गया। बट ये सारे माइथोलॉजिकल इंटरप्रिटेशन एंड चित्र देख के कुछ समझ में नहीं आता। इंटरनेशनल एस्ट्रोनॉमिकल यूनियन का ये चित्र है, वो अभी आपके सामने रखेंगे और थोड़ा आपको मैं जानकारी देता हूँ ऑप्टिकस कॉन्स्टिलेशन। दिस इज बेसिकली लार्ज कॉन्स्टिलेशन विच इज अराउंड सेलेस्टियल इक्वेटर। ओके, इसका नाम जो है वो एंशियंट ग्रीक वर्ड, सब कुछ ग्रीक माइथोलॉजी या उनके लैटिन टर्मिनोलॉजी से ही आया है। इसका मीनिंग होता है ऑप्टिकस का कि भाई ये सरपंट बेरर है, सरपंट चार्मर है, वे ऐसा भी आप बोल सकते हो। बेसिकली एक आदमी है जिसने ग्रास्पिंग अ स्नेक, इसने सांप को पकड़ के रखा है। द सरपंट इज रिप्रेजेंटेड बाय कॉन्स्टिलेशन सर्पेंस। ऑप्टिकस आज की बात नहीं है, पुराने जमाने में मतलब सेकंड सेंचुरी में जो टॉलेमी नाम के साइंटिस्ट थे, एस्ट्रोनॉमर थे, उन्होंने अपना स्काई मैप बनाया 48 कॉन्स्टिलेशन का, उसमें भी ऑप्टिकस था। इट रिमेन्स one of the 88 modern constellation. An old alternative name for the constellation was Serpentarius, मतलब सांप को पकड़ के रखा हुआ व्यक्ति। तो ऑप्टिकस लाइज बिटवीन, आप यहाँ देख भी सकते हो चित्र में, अकीला है, सरपेंस है, स्कॉर्पियस है, सैगिटेरियस है, हरक्यूलस है। नॉर्थ वेस्ट ऑफ द सेंटर ऑफ द मिल्की वे गैलेक्सी है। सदर्न साइड में स्कॉर्पियस, टू द वेस्ट सैगिटेरियस, टू द ईस्ट सैगिटेरियस, टू द ईस्ट। इन द नॉर्दर्न हेमिस्फीयर ये सबसे अच्छा दिख पाता है समर में। ये ऑलमोस्ट अपोजिट टू द ओरायन है, बट अपोजिट टू द ओरायन इज कंसिडर्ड टू बी स्कॉर्पियन। जिस स्कॉर्पियन के काटने से ओरायन को तकलीफ हुई, वो एक दूसरे के शत्रु है। तो एक जब राइज होता है तो दूसरा सेट हो जाता है, दूसरा राइज होता है तो पहला सेट हो जाता है। इस तरीके की दंत कथा के मैचिंग ही ऑप्टिकस की हो सकती है, क्योंकि ऑप्टिकस इज वेरी क्लोज टू द स्कॉर्पियस। तो ये ऑप्टिकस इस के बारे में ये है कि इसके जो अगल बगल में सर्पेंस नाम का कॉन्स्टिलेशन है, उसकी बॉडी को डिवाइड करने का काम इसकी ऑप्टिकस की बॉडी करती है। तो ये ऑप्टिकस का जो प्लस 12 डिग्री या 30 मिनट्स बोल सकते, 12 डिग्री पकड़ लेते, डिक्लिनेशन है. Constellation extends -30 degree declination. Segments of the ecliptic within the ophiuchus are about -20 degree declination. तो डिक्लिनेशन क्या है, आर ए मतलब राइट असेंशन क्या है, लैटिट्यूड क्या है, ये टर्मिनोलॉजीज जो प्रेजेंट है अभी आज की डेट पे कौन कौन प्रेजेंट है वो भी एक बार देख लेते हैं. एंजल, अविरत, भव्या, ओंकार, गावड़े, शन्मुख, विशाल. ओके ओके, somebody has problem. तो हिंदी नीचे. ओके, आई स्पीक इन इंग्लिश. ठीक है. तो ये जो नॉर्दर्न हेमिस्फीयर, इस पर्टिकुलर कॉन्स्टिलेशन का नॉर्दर्न और सदर्न हेमिस्फीयर के आसपास के प्रेजेंस के चलते, अगर हम सिर्फ नॉर्थ पोल के इर्द अराउंड की बात करें, देन यू विल हैव प्रॉब्लम दैट व्हेन वी आर हैविंग problem associated with the bigger nights. Okay, so that period probably ophiuchus will not be visible, or ophiuchus will be in a zone when there will be midnight sun available to the Arctic Circle. So probably the visibility of ophiuchus will be lesser for those period. When we define those 12 sun signs, probably the people miss the correct details because of the two things. One, the precessional movement, and other is probably less visibility of this particular constellation from the Arctic Circle. Probably. Anyways, in this particular constellation, the brightest star is basically Alpha Ophiuchi, called Russell Hag, head of the serpent charmer. This magnitude is approximately 2.07. Eta Ophiuchi, known as a Sabic, it is a preceding one to the previous Alpha Ophiuchi. Magnitude is 2.43. And other bright stars in the constellation include Beta, which is the Sebelrae, dog of the shepherd, and Gamma, Lambda Ophiuchi, or the Murphy, which is basically in the elbow of the serpent bearer. तो आप यहाँ जो देख रहे हो, whatever you are seeing here, need to be remembered. Now, how you are going to remember, I don't know, because certain things when we study are not exactly grasped as it is, because unless until you go through it practically. So start observing these things from your terrace. We'll go into something which is of importance, because you need to understand that Ophiuchus constellations have these particular specific details. RS Ophiuchi is a part of the class called recurrent nova. Now, if you search the term recurrent, what is nova? What is the recurrent nova? Nova synonymous or Marathi translation is Navatara, नया तारा बनने की प्रक्रिया. So this nova or recurrent nova, reoccurring nova, is available in the RS Ophiuchi part of this particular constellation. The brightness increases at a irregular interval by the hundred of times in a period of just few days. These are called the variable stars. It is thought to be at the brink of becoming type 1 supernova. Nearby this is a Barnard star. Barnard star is the nearest star to our solar system, other than those which we are part of the Centaurus constellation, that is Proxima Centaurus. The Proxima system is the closer one, but the other nearest one after that is the Barnard star. We'll go into the details. We'll see the photograph also. Other details about this particular constellation is there was one supernova in 1604 which was observed on 9 October 1604 near Theta Ophiuchi by Johannes Kepler. Just tell me I'm audible properly. Okay. There was some call and I did not put my phone on the do not disturb. Sorry. So I was talking to you about supernovae. These are the very important observations which are done from the Earth when the technology was not available because of their visibility. So Johannes Kepler observed something on the 16 October 1604, studied it so extensively that supernova subsequently called a Kepler supernova. It's basically, he has written one book, The Stella Nova in Pede Serpentari. Sorry, I'll have water and I'll just start. So we were talking about that particular supernova. Okay. Galileo used its appearance to counter the Aristotelian dogma that the heavens are changeless. Now, this is something of not your interest, most of you, but this is something of my interest. Normally, these analogies which are drawn by the Galileo are so called the people who put into the scientific thinking, put basically science for the use science for the scientific. Galileo was one of the very important guiding like pole, has got existence like a pole star or lighthouse. Okay, in all these circumstances and all this situation to guide mankind towards the scientific thinking, he used these particular fundamentals wherever there is change into the normal revelations made by the philosophers like Aristotle and other people. So this is very important. In 2009 it was announced that the star in Ophiuchus undergoes repeated cyclical dimming with a period of 1.5 days consistent with the small orbiting planet. And later date it is observed that there was some eclipsing thing going around that. Important part is that this particular component has got low density gas, possibly hydrogen or steam. And such things are very important targets for future or further observations, considering the possibility of the next evolution cycle or the probably the availability of some species in that particular atmosphere. तो ये सारी चीजें, all these things keep happening. I hope background what I keep giving in these lectures is from internet, but it is after going through my review and some summarized things I'm putting in front of you just to make you feel that where and what to read. At least this lecture will help you a lot to give points to be studied further. Ophiuchus contains several star clusters such as IC 4665, NGC 6633, and so many others, M9 to M62, even M107. These are all globular clusters. We'll see the photographs and then we will go through these details. Now, important part is there are some unusual galaxy mergers remnant, which we'll also see in this particular thing. But before going into the exact photographic detail of these individual objects, we'll have one additional information. Voyager 1, which is the farthest man-made object gone from the Earth, is traveling in the direction of the Ophiuchus. It is located between the Alpha Hercules and Alpha and Kappa Aphuchi at right ascensions of the 17 hours and 13 minutes. Inclination is plus 12 degree 25 minutes. It is the figure of July 2020. ये जुलाई 2020 का आपके लिए डिटेल्स है. उसके बाद ऑलमोस्ट एक साल नहीं तो 10 महीने तो होने आए हैं. So now the facts and figures will be different. We'll go through the brief history of the Ophiuchus. There is no evidence of the constellation preceding the classical era, and in Babylonian astronomy, a sitting god's constellation seems to have been located in general area of the Ophiuchus. However, Gavin White proposes that the Ophiuchus may be in fact remotely described from his Babylonian constellation representing Niraha, a serpent god who has or who was sometimes depicted with the upper half human but with the serpents for the legs. अभी serpents for the legs मतलब इंसान के legs की जगह पे सांप था. ऐसा नहीं कि सांप को leg नहीं होती तो इनको कहाँ से leg आ गए. Now don't get into those unnecessary confusions. Earliest mention of this constellation is Aratus, informed by the lost catalogue of the Eudoxus, that is around, or Snidus, that is around 4th century BCE. But those details will not get into. To the ancient Greeks, the constellation represented the god Apollo struggling with a huge snake that guarded the oracle of the Delphi. Later myths identified Ophiuchus with the Laocoon, a Trojan priest of the Poseidon, who warned his fellow Trojans about the Trojan horse and was later slain by the pair of sea serpents sent by the god to punish him. अभी ये सब mythological stories, those who get education or at least have habit of reading such books can feel or understand or get the fun of these particular stories better. I hail from the Marathi medium, so these all stories are new to me. But the stories related to Hindu mythology or Indian subcontinents are very less, particularly related to these mythologies, these constellations. In medieval Islamic astronomy, the constellation was known as Al Hawa. That means the snake charmer again. Okay. So wherever somehow somewhere all knowledge in olden good old times also used to transmit from one continent to other, and that is how the things were almost similar. Now Ophiuchus is one of the 13 constellations that cross the ecliptic. यहाँ पे in this particular now next narration you will find that probably the zodiacal signs, sun signs have not considered so many important technical points, so all those things become baseless. So presently we are going to talk about the Ophiuchus, which is the 13 constellations which crosses the ecliptic and should have been the 13 sun sign, but obviously it is not put there, and Scorpion is been put, which has what you can say dwell period of the sun lesser than even Ophiuchus. तो Ophiuchus के बारे में थोड़ा पढ़ेंगे. It has sometimes been suggested as the 13th sign of the zodiac. Basically, the signs of the zodiac are the 12-fold divisions of the ecliptic. So each sign represents 30 degree of the celestial longitude. Okay, approximately distance the sun travels in a period of 1 month. Okay, as per the Western tradition, but are aligned with the season so that the March equinox always falls on the boundary between the Pisces and Aries. Aries. But ये होते हुए नहीं दिख रहा है because the constellations, for example, largely correspond to the sign of Pisces. Similarly, the constellation of Ophiuchus occupies most period of 29th November to the 18th December, which is the sun sign period of the Sagittarius, and inclusive of the few part or partial part of the Scorpion constellation. If the differences are due to the fact that the time of the year that the sun passes through the particular zodiacal constellation has slowly changed because of the precision of the equinoxes. The centuries from when the Babylon originally developed the zodiac. अभी जो बेबिलियंस ने ये zodiacal signs और उनका सब राशि चक्र का निर्माण किया, those all period have gone long back, at least few thousand years. And the precessional movement of Earth axis, Paranchan and that is around having that particular circle coverage time takes 26,000 years. So this 26,000 years keep changing. In 4,000 years, many things have changed. Okay, so that is why this particular changes which are not mentioned or not calculated by previous generations have to be calculated or at least need to be forgotten so that people don't get into the unnecessary confusion of what to follow. Now we will go into the deep sky of itself. Since long this particular constellation exists here, this is a row of Fuji molecular cloud. This particular area, left one, zone, is basically the area of the Milky Way galaxy arm, and the right one brighter portion is that row of Fuji, which is the molecular cloud complex. Little different view will show closer view that this is the view of that row of Fuji molecular cloud complex, and this is the wide view where the now arm of the Milky Way galaxy again in the left lowermost corner, and upper side is the wide field of the row of Fuji. Now we'll go into the IC 4665. Now we will be talking only about the globular clusters as it is closer to the Milky Way galaxy. This particular area has got lot many globular clusters. Many of them, at least 5, 6, 7, are into Ophiuchus constellation itself. So IC is index catalog 4665 is a number, is an open cluster in the constellation Ophiuchus. Smallest of the telescope or binoculars can also make it see. Okay. One of the brightest cluster not to be catalogued by the Charles Messier or William Herschel, probably because it is too loose and coarse. ये जो open cluster आपको दिख रहा है, this cluster is so loose that probably others didn't mention it, though it's visible to the naked eye in the best suited sky condition. So hopefully sometime we will see. I haven't seen that. Now this is NGC 6633. You can see it's a globular cluster. No, it's again it's again an open cluster discovered in 1745 by the Philippe Lois, and it was independently rediscovered by the Carolina Herschel in 1783. Okay. Now this this is basically Captain Hooke's cluster as designated commonly. It has got 38 known stars and it is located 66 crore light years away from us. Right? The magnitude is 4.6, which is quite visible, and so it can be tried through the naked eye or through the binoculars. Let's get into the Messier object 9. This is, you can see now, this is the globular cluster. Okay, and it's called nebula without stars. Magnitude is around 7.98, and angular size is approximately 9 to 10 minutes. Distance is 5,500 light years from the galactic core. Its luminosity, the brightness, is 1,20,000 times than the sun, because the absolute magnitude is minus 8.04, where the absolute magnitude of sun is approximately 4. So plus 4, and this is minus 8. So you can understand that this particular cluster is really, really bright cumulative figure. So I hope you understand this magnitude pattern and other things. In case you don't understand, you can post me questions, or you can ask in the next lecture. Messier object 10, we will see. Now this is the list of continuous globular clusters. You can just see through. This is again a nebula without stars. That is what they mention. See, basically it's mentioned by the Charles Messier. It's basically moderately metal pure. Sorry. The metal ions observed in the research, or what you can say studies of this particular clusters, shows that the metal presence is less, and that is why this is called a metal pure. Okay, now I am going to the M12 globular cluster again. It can be seen faintly, but the magnitude is not so good. 2006 concluded research related to this particular Messier object 12, which is the globular cluster NGC 6218. The research concluded that the cluster has a usually low number of low mass stars. So this particular cluster has got low mass number stars, and really the reasons are not clear from where they have gone exactly, or they are stripped off from this. We'll go to the next object, Messier 14 globular cluster again. The magnitude is, absolute magnitude is minus 9.12, so it is 4 lakhs times brighter than sun cumulatively, and M14 is about 100 light years across. Solar system is approximately 1 light year across. M19 is globular cluster. William Herschel in 1784 with his son John Herschel described it as the super cluster resolvable into the countless stars. Using telescope with a 25.4 centimeter aperture, the cluster shows an oval appearance with a 3-inch by 4-inch core and 5 by 7-inch hollow. So this is what people are observing through their bigger telescope. We can at least see through some smaller telescope, so that your knowledge will improve. Let's get into the other pictures also. This is the M62, again a globular cluster. The cluster shows at least 2 distinct population of stars, which most likely represent 2 separate episodes of the star formation. The 79% and 21%. First half represents some different generation. Second half represents some different generation. Primary, secondary, like that it exists. 107 Messier object is a loose globular cluster very mildly northern part of the skyna of Ficus. It's very close to the galactic plane and about 21,000 light years from the Earth. Okay. Now, it is now Osterhoff type cluster with a metallicity of minus 0.95. It's quite good. Now we'll go into that Barnard star, Barnard 68. This is the something which is molecular cloud, dark absorption nebula, and that is why it is a black, towards the southern constellation of Ophiuchus, well within our own galaxy at a distance of 500 light years. Its interior is extremely cold, and temperature goes up to minus 16 Kelvin, which is minus 257 degrees centigrade. So in comparison to the minus 273.5 degree centigrade, this particular negative temperature is quite closer to that. This particular measures about half a light year across. तो ये जो आपको black patch दिख रहा है, this is called Absorption Nebula, Barnard 68 molecular cloud. Okay, so this terminates the explanation related to the constellation called Bhujangadhari, means serpents, Ophiuchus, which is handling or at least holding the serpents. Now we'll go into the constellation called serpents. Okay, so this is the serpent's caput, means head, and cauda, matlab the tail. These two, in between them is the Ophiuchus. So now here the picto pic क्या बोल सकते हैं, आपको एक पिक्चर दिखा रहा हूँ जिसमें दोनों भी दिख रहे हैं. Okay, imagine. Now here you can see this is, थोड़ा बड़ा कर देते हैं, serpent's caput, मतलब okay, of serpents. And now immediately we'll go to the next. Here you have serpent's cauda, which is the tail. Now adjacent to that many things are there, but in between to this there will be ophiuchus. So we'll have some brief explanation of these things and then we'll go further. But these are, instead of going into the messier of this, we'll have some explanation on the serpents. Just wait. As you can see, serpents is a constellation in the northern celestial hemisphere. It's again having same story of that 48 constellations defined by the Ptolemy. तो इतना पुराना है कि that 48 constellation also had presence of serpents. Serpents, it is a unique among the modern constellation that it is being split into the two non-contiguous parts, serpent's caput, that is serpent head, to the west, and that is serpent's tail to the east. Between these two halves lies the constellation of Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer. In figurative representation, the body of the serpent is represented as a passing behind Ophiuchus between the mu serpentis in serpent's caput and nu serpentis in the serpent's cauda. The brightest stars in serpents is the red giant star Alpha Serpentis or Unukkalahi. Unukkalahi in Serpentis caput with the apparent magnitude of 2.6. Located in Serpent's caput are the naked eye globular cluster Messier 5 and other things which we'll see later. As far as the mythology is concerned, serpents represent snake held by the healer Asclepius, represented in sky by the constellation of Ophiuchus. Asclepius once killed a snake, but the animal was war. Abhi mythology chalu ho gaya. Now there will be some mythological story which will be exact duplication of some Hindi movies. Okay, so now we'll get into that. Some time back, Asclepius, means serpent bearer, Ophiuchus, once killed a snake, but the animal was subsequently resurrected after the second snake placed a revival herb on its body before its death. मतलब एक सांप को किसी ने गलती से मार दिया, उसको मारने के बाद उसको फिर से जिंदा किया गया दूसरे सांप द्वारा by putting some herb. अभी नागिन नगीना पिक्चर आपको याद आ रहे होंगे, you can always, okay, there are many movies related to that. Abhi, from where Greeks draw this misunderstanding? This is from that misunderstanding that snakes shed their skin. And if you have seen the snake before shedding the skin, this whole process is called molting. This molting process, when snake is shedding the skin, they really look as if they have taken rebirth. And after seeing such actual incidences, some Greeks must have come to conclusion that snakes always take rebirth. And this particular superstition passed so fast, this the origin of snakes rebirth comes from the origin of Greek superstitions, which I mentioned here. Okay. Serpents present with the Ophiuchus, the true reason is still not fully known. Sometimes serpents are depicted as a coiling around the Ophiuchus, but the majority cases it is going behind the Ophiuchus body or between his legs. Anyway, in Chinese astronomy, most of the stars of the serpents are represented by the walls surrounding the marketplace known as the Tianqi, which is in the Ophiuchus, and parts of the Hercules constellation. Serpents also contains few Chinese constellations. Two stars in the tail of the serpents represent the Shilao, the tower with the market office. Another star in the tail represents Lazy, that is a jewel shop. Now there is no head and tail connection of all these things with the European mythology, but then it's up to individual who are writing the stories pertaining to this constellation. One star in the head, that is the Mu Serpentis, mark the Tianru, that is the crown prince wet nurse, or sometimes even it represents the rains in China. So there are two serpents constellation in Babylonian astronomy also, known as the Mushushu and the Basmu. It appears that the Mushushu was depicted as a hybrid dragon, a lion, and the bird, closely corresponding to the constellation called Hydra, जो हमको मालूम है, the biggest constellation of the sky. Basmu is the horned serpent, Niginchuaza, and roughly corresponds to the constellation of the Idaxus of the Snidus, on which the Ptolemy Serpens constellation is based. Serpens is the only 88 modern constellation, but these are the Serpens Caput is bordered by the Libra on south, Virgo, Bootes on the west, Corona Borealis in north, and Ophiuchus and Hercules to the east. Serpens Coda, that is tail, is bordering Sagittarius to the south, Scutum, matlab dhal, and Aquila, matlab Garud, on its east, Ophiuchus to the north and west, and covering approximately 637 or 636.9 degrees of the sky. This particular main asterism consists 11 stars and minor stars like a 1-knot star listing. Magnitude is 6.5. Okay. Serpens caput boundaries are set by the Belgian astronomer with a 10-sided polygon. International Astronomical Union adopted 3-letter observation SER for this constellation in 1922. Marking the heart of the serpents is the constellation's bright star called Alpha Serpentis, called the Unukal High, and it's a red giant star spectral class of the K23, located approximately 23 parsec distance. 23 parsec you may be knowing, when we multiply 3.26 light years, okay, that particular distance, it becomes a parsec. So other details, 2 stars in the serpent's caput form the part of the snake body below the heart, Epsilon and Mu Serpentis. Serpent's caput contains many RR Lyrae. RR Lyrae means Lyrae constellations, variable stars, which are the representative of that particular constellation and named after that particular constellation. So as now I was telling you, we'll go into the deep sky objects of this particular constellation. Let's get into that. This is the M5, Messier object 5, very famous globular cluster, 8 degrees southwest of the Serpentis, next to the spy 5 Serpentis star. Okay. Now we will not get into it's a naked eye observable object under a good sky condition, but then we have seen many globular clusters in this particular lecture, so we will not concentrate much on this. We'll go to the Hawks object. This is something interesting thing. I don't know whether it's visible or not, because the most of such objects have got very feeble visible magnitude, and that is why small telescope will not be able to show you this. This Hawks object is located 600 million light years, means 60 crore light years from Earth. It is a member of a very rare class of galaxies known as a ring galaxy. Outer ring is largely composed of the young blue stars you can see in the picture, while the core is made up of the yellowish stars. The prominent theory regarding this formation is that progenitor galaxy was barred spiral galaxy whose arms had velocities too great to keep the galaxy's coherence and therefore detached. Cohesive forces have reduced because of the high speed of the rotation, and probably certain things got detached from this particular main galaxy. This is all postulations. Exact theories will be known only when certain specific research will be done about these objects. Similar objects like a Cepheus or sextet is the group of 6 galaxies, 4 of which are interacting gravitationally and 2 of which are simply appear to be part of the group despite their great distances. So such 3C321 merging galaxy is available here. These 2 galaxies of 3C321 are interacting with each other and are in the process of merging. Both members appear to be active galaxies. The primary radio galaxy may be responsible for activity in the secondary by means of the former's jet driving material into the latter supermassive black. So, out of these two irregular shaped galaxies, one must be having some black hole which is pulling the material of the other galaxy. So, let's get into the some other important content of this serpent's constellation, and these are the pillars of creation. Very, very famous object of the whole sky observation, and this is called the Eagle Nebula. Part of the galactic plane of the serpent's constellation passes through the tail of thus, matlab serpent's coda, is rich in the deep sky object within our own galaxy. The Eagle Nebula shown in your picture is associated with the star cluster called Messier Object 16, 7,000 light years from the Earth in the direction of the galactic center. The nebula measures 70 light years to 50 light years by width, contains pillars of the creation. What is it? The dust cloud that became famous for the image taken by the Hubble Space Telescope, seeing the star being born in the Eagle Nebula. Added to those with the approximate age of 5 million years, means zero point 0.5 crore, half crore years, have an average temperature of 45,000 Kelvin, produce prodigious amounts of radiation that will eventually destroy the dust of the pillars. Despite very famous Eagle Nebula, its very dim integrated magnitude is approximately 6. तो आपको बहुत ही अच्छे टेलीस्कोप से इसको देखना होगा. Okay, now we'll go into the some other object called Westerhouse 40. What is it? It is like a same pillar of creation creating some stars. It's a complex consisting of the prominent region adjacent to the molecular cloud located around 500 parsec distance. It is one of the nearest massive region of the star formation. But as molecular cloud obscures the region, hence the embedded clusters visibility is tough. So this particular embedded cluster likely contains 600 stars above zero point 0.1 solar masses, which is really good thing for the observation and research purpose. Important, it has got some meteor showers also, Omega Serpentidis and Sigma Serpentidis. Peaks are between December 18 to 25, but are very feeble in nature, and that's why not considered as a major part of the any observation. So let's get further. Jantar Mantar, some pending part is there, but we will not get today. We'll see later. Similarly, Parker Solar Probe, some pending part is there, which I'm trying to cover since long, but I'm not able to cover that. So today, being after long period, we are into this. Sorry. So we will not stop here. I will have some questions from your end. I will just take you to the front portion of this particular presentation. Sorry, content. Okay, this is better content than anything else. So you have any questions, put in chat box, or you have any questions, you can just start your mic and you can speak to me. Okay, in call messages I will see nothing has been written. I'll check how many of you are there. Just give me a second. Angel, Avirat, Bhavya, Omkar, Pavitra, Lok has joined bit late. Vishal Mehit. So anybody has got any doubts, please ask, or we'll close. See, about this particular class, let me tell you very frankly, this is something like a hobby class. Your academics are important. Most of you are at least state board or CBSE board. We have both free classes or at least minimal fees classes for CBSE as well as state board. Those who are interested can join. This particular class, which has got commitment of 50 lectures, we are on the 47th lecture, but don't bother. We will continue it till at least 70, 75, 80 hours till we some complete all constellations. And it will be as per my convenience. Kindly accept apologies for same because my availability, my other lectures, my office requirements, considering all those things, these lectures are happening. Last 1 month, it's not that you had exams. I was completely occupied with something else, so could not deliver lecture. Sorry for that. And as today you don't have any questions, before stopping, I would like to request 22nd night, that is 23 morning, means 22nd night. Suppose you want to sleep here at Shirdhon in open space or some covered space with your own bedding, with your own food, water, everything. Then 22nd evening, you can reach our place around evening 5:36. But it's not that 1 2 people we will entertain. We expect at least 20 people to be confirmed member. So at least if I leave around suppose 10, 10:30, 11, you will have something for discussion. You can discuss the things. You can sleep for the 4 5 hours, and then morning we can have telescopic observation if sky condition permits. But then it will not be individualistic. If you confirm in this group itself, that sir, I will come with 3 members, I will come with 2 members, confirm 20 members first, then 22nd evening we'll have sky observation. 23rd early morning we'll have Lyraid's meteor shower observation and the telescopic observation. Now it's up to you that what you are confirming. Below 20, no observation will happen. Already we had one observation with 2 3 people. Dr. Pikale has visited. I think he was the only person who visited, and some other local students visited. So that's not really good. I put lot of energy, time, 2 3 hours spending with you. At least many of you, at least 40 60% are required. Okay. Thank you so much for your kind patient listening. Your confirmation can reach me by group message on same Astro or UPSC group. Avirat, you can convey me as per your convenience. If it's not possible, we'll move to the next weekend and next weekend. We'll try make end of May. But as we approach June, probably the conditions will be sky conditions will be bit more cloudy. So in this particular summer, we are not going to have evening observation of the all those bodies because those all things, especially Jupiter and Saturn, will be available in morning only. So it's 9:55. We will stop here. Thank you very much for your kind patient listening. I cannot assure you about the next week lecture, but don't forget 47 lectures can be revised by you own. बचे हुए lectures आराम से होंगे, टेंशन मत लीजिए. Okay. Thank you so much. You can arrange that first lecture in your school as an online webinar. It's up to you. No jabardasti. Thank you very much. Tata, bye bye. Good night. You can leave the class.